Good afternoon, Prof and fellow classmates. We are Group 8 and today we will be presenting on the topic of virtual influencers. Before diving into the topic, let's understand what gave rise to virtual influencers. With the rise of social media in the early 2000s and it becoming an integral part of our lives now, it gave birth to a new marketing tactic called influencer marketing. As seen in the graph, the expected spending related to influencer marketing is forecasted to range from $5 to $10 billion in 2020. Then, as technology started improving, virtual influencers were developed and they do not face the natural constraints that humans face. Hence, companies started noticing its limitless potentials and virtual influencers started developing across the whole world. So, what exactly are virtual influencers in definition? Well, virtual influencers are defined to be metaverse characters created using a computer software and is usually made accessible on social media. These virtual influencers generally earn money just like any other influencers, and that is by helping companies market their products and services. Despite not being a real entity living on Earth, these virtual influencers have large amounts of followers and make relatively higher amounts of money compared to an average UK worker. Now, I'll pass the time to Edward to discuss about some benefits of virtual influencers.
Thank you, Brendan. So now I'll be talking about the benefits of virtual influencers. Firstly, it allows content creators to be creative beyond physical boundaries. Real influencers are limited to the confinement space they reside in. The deepfake technology behind virtual influencers allows software engineers to create computer-generated imagery to make it seem special and unique. This increases engagement and followers as we are only able to desire and admire the lifestyle of these virtual influencers. Companies are able to match their brand values to customers' wants and accurately target these customer segments. Secondly, it has 3 times the engagement rate of real influencers. According to a virtual influencer study from Hype Auditor, suggests that virtual influencers have almost 3 times the engagement rate of real influencers, and this influence expands to consumer purchase decisions. Experts also identify a range of potential industries like fashion, lifestyle, luxury, and entertainment brands, and the list goes on and on. Thirdly, it provides businesses full control of their marketing needs. Virtual influencers present an interesting opportunity for brands as they give marketers complete control over their messaging while significantly reducing risk. Unlike human influencers, where companies do not have full control over their actions and behavior, which leads to additional risks that may result in market backlash and reputational damage. Virtual influencers eliminate such risks as companies have full control over what their virtual influencers say and dress. Now I'll pass the time to Brandon to talk about the limitations of virtual influencers.
Thank you, Edward. I will now be talking about the limitations of virtual influencers. Firstly, virtual influencers may result in the creation of unrealistic expectations. Since virtual influencers' appearances are fully customizable, companies may gravitate towards creating a flawless virtual influencer, which may result in human influencers to feel inadequate and may develop low self-esteem. Next, virtual influencers have limited emotional connections with audiences due to the lack of authenticity, unlike their human influencers. Audiences may question the products promoted since virtual influencers are unable to personally experience them, especially for consumables or beauty care, resulting in lower endorsement credibility, unlike their human counterparts. Finally, we have identified intellectual property issues that could potentially arise in the future. What happens if virtual influencers are created with appearances similar to celebrities' facial features? Currently, DNA and human faces are not subjected to intellectual property rights, and there are no laws and regulations that enable individuals to trademark their own human faces. In the future, virtual influencers may provide companies an avenue to utilize a virtual celebrity lookalike as their brand ambassador instead of incurring high expenses to sign sponsorship agreements and endorsements with real celebrities. Another potential issue that may arise is that what happens if 2 different companies own virtual influencers that look alike? Currently, the visual appearance of a virtual influencer may be eligible for trademark protection if their image serves as a source of identifying mark for their creators' goods and services. However, most virtual influencers now, such as Ray and Recovery, are created to look like real humans and do not have that distinct mark that represents a company. Hence, trademark protections may not apply. This may result in potential legal dispute problems in areas such as copyrights and trademarks, where there may be virtual influencers who look alike but are owned by 2 separate companies. Next, Xiaowei will be talking more about the technology behind virtual influencers.
Thank you, Brendan. The basis behind virtual influencer technology stems from deepfakes, and its fundamental technology lies in autoencoders. First, the original image is fed into the encoder, whose job is to compress the image into its latent representation. The compression forces the network to only extract key facial attributes of the image. Next, the representation is fed into the decoder, whose job is to reconstruct back the original image. A reconstruction loss is calculated by comparing the output to the original image. Backpropagation is run to adjust the weights in the network so as to minimize this loss. A variation of this method is known as the variational autoencoders (VAE), which produces higher quality deepfakes. The approach is similar, the only difference is that the latent vector is forced into a Gaussian distribution, whereby a random sample will be selected to be fed into the decoder. With that, we can understand how deepfake technology works. We will require two autoencoder pairs, both trained separately on face A and face B. Once trained, we will switch decoder A with decoder B. This works as decoder B has already learned how to reconstruct face B. By providing it with the attributes of face A, it can thus reconstruct face B with the facial expressions of A. To further improve on this process, researchers have found that a variational autoencoder generative adversarial network (VAE GAN) works to produce less blurry images compared to just the VAE. GAN basically involves two neural networks competing with each other. The generator is fed variable Z to produce a fake image. The discriminator is fed either the fake or real image, and it has to distinguish if it's real or fake. The generator aims to trick the discriminator, and the discriminator aims to always be right. By looking at how wrong the discriminator was, backpropagation is run to adjust the weights of both networks to better achieve their goals. How does this help in deepfake technology? Well, we can replace the decoder part of the autoencoder with GAN. The generator is used to reconstruct the image, and it's trained via the discriminator. This works because the network is no longer subjected to an arbitrary loss function that was present in the VAE. Next, I'll be passing my time off to Jiaqi, who will be introducing another deepfake technology known as style rig.
Thank you, Xiaowei. Next, I will introduce style rig, which is an improved version of StyleGAN. Style rig can produce realistic images while having explicit control over the three-dimensional semantic parameters of the face. This allows for adjustments to the parameters such as head pose and facial shape. So how does style rig works? An image with latent vector W is the input to the RigNet encoder. The encoder transforms the input into a lower dimensional vector. Another latent vector V is transformed to a vector of semantic control parameter P by a pre-trained differentiable face reconstruction network. Vector P contains parameters information such as facial expression. The RigNet decoder then transforms both the reduced dimensional vector and vector P into vector D. Vector D is then combined with the original vector W to get an output vector W hat, which contains the parameter that we want to have from vector P. In this example, we want the neutral expression of the man to change to a smiley expression like the image at vector V. Therefore, vector W hat will have been injected with the smiley expression parameter from vector P while keeping other parameters consistent as the ones in the original image vector W. There are three loss functions that style rig has: editing loss, consistency loss, and reconstruction loss. The editing loss aims to minimize the loss between the target control parameter and output control parameter. In this case, we want the smiley expression in the output to be as close as the smiley expression in the input. The consistency loss aims to minimize the loss between the control parameter of the source and output. This ensures that parameters that we do not want to change, such as facial shape, to remain consistent between the output and input images. Lastly, the reconstruction loss aims to minimize the loss between the output vector W hat and input vector W. This ensures that the reconstructed image has a background and other attributes similar to the original image. Now I'll pass on the time to Yvonne, who will be introducing case studies, possibly involving the networks we have mentioned so far.
Thank you, Jiaqi. We will now focus on some prominent case studies of virtual influencers. This is Ray, a South Korean YouTuber under the name of Recovery, who is active on the YouTube scene by mainly posting song covers and occasional video logs on her channel. She is also involved in the endorsement for the home shopping channel CJ on Style. So, what is different about her? Just a few months ago, it was revealed that her face is actually the product of deepfake technology, which means that the face that you are seeing right now does not belong to that of a real person. It is in fact a virtual face that is created by collecting multiple facial data from a sample of humans. When asked for her reasons on why she chose to use a virtual face, she said that an attractive face makes for a huge fan following and multiplied her chances of being successful on online platforms. This realistic look and feel of recovery is the product of a company, DOB Studio, which has plans to launch a commercial service that allows individuals to use their own digitally rendered faces in the videos that they create. Next, we have Ray, who is one of Asia's and Singapore's top virtual influencers. What is different about Ray from Recovery is that instead of deepfake technology, it is a computer-generated avatar that is mainly rendered through CGI techniques and powered by artificial intelligence. Her whole body and personality is unique and does not belong to that of anyone. Ray currently has over 780,000 followers on Chinese social media Weibo and has also collaborated with major brands such as car maker Audi for their online premiere of the new A3. Most recently, 3 non-fungible tokens of her artwork, which are made possible with the use of CGI technology and AI, are also up for sale on the NFT marketplace, Mintable, where fans of Ray have the option to place their bids or to directly purchase them at about $3,500 each. Owners of Ray's NFTs would also get the chance to receive a personalized AI-generated thank you audio message from her. Yiling will now share more about our group's opinion on the potential for growth of virtual influencers and do a sum up of our presentation.
Thank you, Yvonne. So after hearing all about what virtual influencers are about, we then think about how virtual influencers could grow. Our group has thought about 2 potential ways. We can start off by looking in the aspect of tokenization. This has been a step taken by virtual influencer Ray, as mentioned earlier on. As such, it is foreseeable that other virtual influencers follow suit to sell their photos in the marketplace as well. So why do we think this would be an area for growth? We have identified 3 Ps which we feel are important to businesses: personalization, purpose, and proprietary. So looking at personalization, using the style read concept mentioned earlier, being able to make slight changes to appearances of the virtual influencers can allow their appearance to fit into the culture better where the business plans have outreach in. Language spoken by the virtual influencers can change as and when needed as well. This creates personalization based on cultural sensitivity, making the outreach have a higher impact for businesses. Next, on purpose, virtual influencers' personalities can be predefined and controlled, improving the consistency when engaging them as long-term ambassadors of social causes. For instance, if a virtual influencer is to advocate for healthy eating, we can be sure that his or her behavior will be consistent regardless of the environment they are in. Lastly, on proprietary. Once the NFT has been established in the marketplace, it serves as evidence on ownership rights over the specific NFTs of virtual influencers. Hence, it poses a high barrier for other businesses to attempt using the NFTs that are not owned by them for their commercial purposes. Next, we can look at how AI-based virtual influencers could grow in the scene as well. So Fable Studios has created an AI character called Lucy, where she can hold conversations with a real person sending over messages. Hence, putting this idea into the world of virtual influencers, it could be possible that virtual influencers can hold interactive meet and greet sessions with their fans, just as how any human influencer can, just that it's on a virtual platform. Yet this virtual platform can too be enhanced in its realism by incorporating augmented reality. Additionally, AI-based virtual influencers being non-human can operate with much less downtime compared to human influencers. As such, this poses an advantage for businesses as they can gain worldwide outreach with the virtual influencer, yet also give individuals across the world that personalization to feel more engaged with the business. After all, Fable Studios commented that AI should anticipate us instead of just reacting to us. What's missing is that you should feel seen. Indeed, our group feels that looking at how AI can better engage with us is really an area to explore further. Through our presentation, we have seen how the current technology still presents limitations for the use of virtual influencers. However, we do feel that a virtual influencer industry could be highly scalable and here to stay. We can speed up the rate of adoption through developing internet literacies among followers and encourage the formation of regulations. Additionally, coupled with the emergence of Metaverse, we can only imagine the endless opportunities in the virtual influencer space. With that, we close up our presentation on virtual influencers, the present and potential future impact on the world. Thank you.